Hello, and welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today, we're marching into the history of a powerful spectacle, the military parade. From triumphant Roman generals dragging the spoils of war through the streets, to the thunderous goose-stepping armies of the 20th century, these events are far more than just soldiers on a walk. They are meticulously crafted performances of power, pride, and politics. So what's the real story behind these massive displays? Let's find out. Our journey begins in ancient Rome with a tradition called the Triumph. This wasn't just a parade. It was a sacred ceremony celebrating a general's major victory. Picture this: the victorious commander, the triumphator, riding a four-horse chariot, wearing a laurel crown and a purple and gold toga, looking almost like a god. His army would follow, along with prisoners of war and all the loot they'd captured. It was the ultimate PR move. The first triumph is said to have been held by Rome's founder, Romulus, way back in 753 BCE. Over the next 1,000 years, the Senate granted over 300 of them, each one a lavish spectacle to show off authority and wealth to the Roman people, often followed by days of public games. Fast forward to the 19th century. As the idea of the nation began to rise in Europe, so did the modern military parade. The Prussian army, in particular, perfected many of the formations we now recognize, including the infamous goose step. Parades stopped being just about a single general's victory and started becoming symbols of national pride, designed to stir up patriotic fervor among the people. Interestingly, the United States has always had a slightly different relationship with military parades. With a cultural suspicion of a large, centralized military, grand parades have been less common. They've typically been reserved for marking huge national moments. After the Civil War in 1865, a massive two-day grand review of the armies saw over 145,000 Union soldiers march through Washington, D.C. to celebrate victory and unity. Similar parades honored troops returning from World War I and World War II. The Cold War turned the military parade into a weapon of propaganda. The Soviet Union and its allies held enormous annual parades, especially on May Day. These were a chance to show off their military might, with thousands of troops, tanks, and missiles rolling through Red Square to project an image of unbreakable strength. The first Soviet Victory Day parade was in 1945. In stark contrast, the U.S. mostly avoided these regular displays. President Eisenhower famously rejected the idea of a parade to rival the Soviets, saying it was out of our tradition unless there was a specific victory to celebrate. The last major American military parade of the 20th century was in 1991, celebrating the victory in the Gulf War. Today, military parades are a global phenomenon. In authoritarian countries like North Korea, China, and Iran, they are a key piece of state propaganda. These are highly choreographed events used to unveil new weapons, project an image of unwavering power, and cement the authority of the ruling regime. China, for instance, holds a massive parade on its National Day, a tradition started in 1949. But it's not just authoritarian states. In democracies, parades often serve to connect the public with the armed forces and commemorate history. France holds Europe's oldest and largest military parade on Bastille Day, celebrating the French Revolution. India's Republic Day Parade is a huge national event that showcases not only military hardware, but also the country's diverse culture with colorful floats. So what makes these parades so powerful? It's all in the spectacle, and every detail has a meaning. The synchronized marching of thousands of soldiers demonstrates discipline and unity. The elaborate uniforms connect to a nation's history and military heritage. The rolling tanks and missile launchers are a direct, in-your-face projection of power, meant to both intimidate enemies and reassure citizens. And when jets fly overhead in perfect formation, it adds a layer of technological awe. Of course, not everyone is a fan. Critics often see military parades as nationalistic displays of militarism. They point to the high cost and their use as propaganda tools. There is a concern that mixing military might with national celebrations can blur the line between patriotism and loyalty to a particular political leader. Debates in countries like the US often highlight a discomfort with using the military for what can be seen as a political show. From the triumphs of Rome to the televised spectacles of today, the military parade remains a potent and often controversial form of expression. It's a mirror reflecting the complex relationship between a state, its military, and its people. A captivating, inspiring, and sometimes provoking display of power that continues to shape our world. Thanks for tuning in to G Fun Facts Online. Join us next time for another deep dive into a fascinating topic.